Hey folks, welcome to the quest roll. This is actually a 3-part Dragonbane guide. The first part I introduce the lore to you. The second part, which is this, is an introduction or guide to the game mechanics that a new player needs to know before they get into to play a Dragonbane session. Right? So these are the core mechanics that you just need to know, because the dungeon master, the game master, would be happy to guide you through the other mechanics. But this is something that would help you play the game faster, because if you know this, it will help the game master also to quickly you know um, run the campaign for you, right? So if you haven't watched the introduction to the lore, which is the part 1 video, please watch that video. I'll be setting up a link for you guys here. Do click on it and watch that video before you proceed with this one, right? So without further ado, let's start this video. So now the first thing I would like to mention is that Dragonbane, the role system, is a role under mechanic. So what that means is the lower the value, the better it is. The higher the value, the worse it is. So here in Dragonbane, if you get 1 on your roll, it's a critical success, which is called a dragon. And if you roll 20, it's a critical failure, which is called a demon, right? So it's a roll under system. Now, whenever you make actions, right, whenever you want to do something really challenging, you would roll a d20, right? But when it's something like you use your weapon, you hit the enemy, and now you have to apply damage. So that's when you roll d8, d6, or d12 based on the weapon you choose, the weapon you're attacking with, right? But other than that, all the actions, the core mechanic is around d20, right? So now let's say you are trying to parkour through over some buildings, right? That's the challenge that you are in, and you want to use your agility to parkour over a few buildings in the city, right? And since it's a challenge, the dungeon master, the game master, asks you to roll for acrobatics, right? So our character, the Wolf Shadow Moonstar, is a wolfkin, and he's quite an agile character, so his acrobatics skill is pretty decent, right? So now I have to roll. So Dragonbane is a roll under system, right? So my rolls to succeed should be 14 or lower. That's the value that I need to get when I roll for acrobatics. So let's see if I actually succeed. I succeed. So my target was 14, but I got 5, right? So I was successful in parkouring over the buildings that in this example. But as you can see, I've actually rolled a failure here earlier, which is not recorded in this video, but I wanted to showcase a mechanic called push. So in a scenario where you fail your roll, you have an opportunity to actually re-roll that failed roll, but you have to take a condition. So a condition is something that you can choose. As a player, you can actually talk to your dungeon master or game master and say that, oh, you know what, I'm failed at this roll, so I'm in this example, let's say my wolf shadow Moonstar is frustrated that he couldn't do such a simple task, and he's angry with himself, right? So the conditions are so each condition affects the attributes here. So when I set a condition, any action that I do that requires that attribute, I'll have a disadvantage, right? So in this case, let's say now I said I'm angry, right? So yeah, first let me tell you the conditions before I get there. So exhausted, if you're exhausted, it affects your strength attribute. If you're sickly, it affects your constitution attribute. If you're dazed, it affects your agility attribute. If you're angry, that is what I am right now, that is what Wolf Shadow is right now, it affects your intelligence attribute. If you're scared, it affects your willpower attribute, and if you're disheartened, it affects your charisma attribute, right? So whatever condition I take, it'll affect my rolls for that specific skill set that it is under. So what that means is, now let's say intelligence. So if because I'm angry, my awareness rolls will have a disadvantage, right? So since it relies on intelligence, my beast lore will be roll. If I roll for beast lore, I'll have a disadvantage. So that's what it means. So let's say I re-roll and I take anger as my condition. Oh, nice. So I actually got a dragon. My result was 1. So this is like the best result that I could have got. And now the way I parkoured over the buildings and reached my destination was mind-blowing. I somersaulted in the air and probably winked at my teammates, or to my teammates, instead of looking like I jumped across that gap, it looked like I flew across the gap, like I was gliding through the air and just landed softly on the ground, right? So this is a dragon roll, which is the best roll here. So the push actually helped me out in this scenario, right? So push can be really helpful, and this is a really nice mechanic that could really be promising if your luck is right, like in this case it was. So that's the push mechanic, right? Yes. So now now what happens is, now let's say in our scenario I have to roll for my awareness. Now my condition is I'm angry with myself. So that condition stays until I actually rest. Okay. So here there are 3 types of rest scenario. So there is round rest. So round rest is basically while in combat, I can rest for a while in between. So it's kind of like you're taking a breather rather than attacking or doing anything. You're taking a breather, but that doesn't heal you. It just you need to roll a d6, which will then decide how much of willpower you regain. So as you can see here, we have willpower and we have hit points. Now willpower is something that is used to for some actions, like there are some abilities called heroic abilities, which I will talk about or you know what, let me just talk about it here. Let me view this character. Let me go to the ability section. Yeah. So each character on the start will have at least one innate ability and one heroic ability. But I believe mages do not have any heroic ability, but every other job or profession here in Dragonbane, it's called profession, will have a heroic ability. So in this case, the heroic ability for our character Wolf Shadow is veteran, right? So if I use that heroic ability, it will use willpower points 1. So I'll have to deduct 1 willpower point to use this ability. So what is this ability? Activating this ability at the start of a combat round allows you to retain your initiative card from the previous round instead of drawing a new one. Doing so does not count as an action. Okay. So one thing now I need to mention, now since I read this out loud. In Dragonbane, your initiative order changes at every round, right? So the first round you could be first. The next round again we reshuffle and we set the order. You could be in the middle or the end, and so on and so forth. So until the combat ends, each round your order changes. So that's what it means. So let's say in the next round I use this heroic ability, that is the veteran, and retain my previous in initiative order. That's what this allows me to do, right? So willpower can be used for your heroic abilities, and willpower is something that the mages rely upon a lot, because all of their spells and their magic tricks are all, I believe magic tricks do not rely on willpower, but their spells that they cast is all willpower based. So when you lose your willpower, if your willpower is 0, you cannot cast any spells. But there is another mechanic that will allow you to cast spells if your willpower is 0, but I'll get to that point little later. So you've understood the willpower here, right? Yes. So now I want to mention, if now in this case I'm angry, right? So whatever rolls I do with that rely on intelligence, it will have a disadvantage, right? So I roll with Bane. So disadvantage is called Bane, advantage is called Boon. So I roll with Bane. So it's nothing but rolling 2 dice, right? And then taking the highest value. So like I said, it's a roll under system. So when you have a Bane, you take the highest value because you're rolling in with the Bane. Okay, what went wrong here? Should I roll first? Yeah, sorry, I had to click on roll. So now let's see what I get. See, I got a lower value actually. See, I got 2, but I am taking the higher value because this is a roll with Bane. Now I'm going to do the same roll and I'm going to do with Boon. So if I roll with Boon, what that means is I'm going to roll 2 dice, but I'm going to take the lower value. So in this case, the lower value is 10, but still it's higher than my target value, right? So as you can see, this is with Bane and it takes the higher value, and this is with Boon, it takes the lower value. Now again, I failed here because it's supposed to be 4 or below. So here you understood the Bane and the Boon, rolling with advantage and rolling with disadvantage, right? So that's the whole thing around D20 and D20 rolls and advantages and disadvantages. I've explained to you pushing rolls. So when you push a roll, you need to take a condition. So in this case, I took a condition of anger. So now I'm going to check it as active, right? So maybe you guys, you could, so this is this is something that you can role play. So if you do want to push, you can tell the game master what condition you're going to take and role play that condition, right? So that's about pushing rolls. Opposed rolls. Okay, so opposed rolls is something like you're challenging someone to do an action. So for example, if you're having a hand wrestle, right, or you're trying to push open the door, but your opponent, your enemy is trying to shut the door, right? So what the player would do would be is do a roll on strength. Like, okay, in this example, I think it should be strength. Yeah, this should be strength. So if I roll on strength, let's say, okay, let's say our wolf shadow is rolling now 7, right? And I'm going to make him roll because I've logged in as a player here, so I can't actually use other players and try to roll them. But let's say now Wolfkin has rolled and he's got 7. Now he succeeded on that roll, right? But now what happens is the enemy needs to roll for strength, and if he succeeds, right? If the enemy succeeds, okay, so the enemy succeeded in this case, right? So this is our wolf shadow and this is our enemy. Our enemy succeeded and so did we. So when both of them succeed, you take the lower value, right? So now a wolf shadow has actually won the battle of strength and has pushed the door open, right? So this is the opposing roll. So opposing roll can be done in this scenario, and opposing rolls can also be done, will also be done in a scenario where if you get poisoned, so you will have to roll your constitution against the potency of the poison. It could be your sleeping poison or sleeping potion that puts you to sleep, or it could be a poison that harms you. So based on the potency, your roll needs to be better, right? So that's opposing role. You're being there's another challenged role that will be rolled by your dungeon master or game master. Initiative, like I mentioned, it's the lowest order that goes first. So in a physical game, it's actually a deck of 10 cards, which is shuffled, and the players can pick up any card at random, and then that number is assigned to them, right? So, and like I said, each round the initiative order changes. The first round could be different, the second round could be different, and so on and so forth. Waiting. Now this is something I think I'll show it in a battle. I think I need to show the waiting sequence in a battle, or okay, so I actually thought of maybe showing setting up like a small battle combat sequence and showing the gameplay, but I think I'll move on, and then maybe in the end I'll show you the battle sequence. Like I said, I've logged in as a player, so I cannot open the battle map, so I'll go on with the mechanics for now, and then in the end of the guide I'll have a small quick encounter sequence, a small one. Okay, so waiting. Now waiting is basically in an encounter, right, in a combat scenario, once we have all been assigned initiative order, I can decide to in my action, right, it's my turn, my action, I can either move or do an action. So moving is not considered an action. Moving is moving around the map, and action is something that I do, right? So I can move, or I can actually wait. I can sorry about this. So wait is something that you can decide. So wait is basically I switch my initiative order with either my party members or my enemy, right? So I can switch my order. So if I'm 2 and I want to switch my order to a person in at the initiative order 5, and that person is an enemy, I can switch, right? So this is called waiting. So what that allows me to do is, it allows me to play defensively. So now if now the enemy has switched to my order, which is 2 and I'm 5, and then now it's the enemy's turn. Now he decides to attack me itself, right? So when he tries to attack me, I can use my action, which I have not consumed yet, to either evade or I can parry. So if I evade is something just like a dodge, right? And parry is basically block the attack with my sword or with my weapon or a shield, right? So this gives me a little strategic like this mechanic allows me to strategize a little more in these combats. Now if your roll is good, like if you get the dragon, right, if you get 1, what happens is, and you decide to parry, so when you parry, right, and you get a roll 1, you succeeded in parrying that parrying the attack, right? So if you get a critical roll, you can actually counter that, and that gives you an additional attack option, right? So this is like you have decided to go defensive and maybe get an opportunity to get a free attack on the enemy. So this is a little strategic game mechanic that is there, and it's kind of interesting when you actually get into a combat sequence. And waiting is something that is really exciting. Okay, so there's one thing I do want to mention. Here, humanoid NPCs or enemies have a single initiative order, like how the players, like the goblins, then the orcs. So these humanoids have a single have only one initiative order in a round, but monsters in this game could have more than one. They could actually attack, they could have 2 actions in the same round or 3 actions in the same round. That is about monsters. The second thing about monsters is monsters never miss. They never have rolls on miss or hit. they always hit. Their attacks are all successful, and the dungeon master will roll for damage, right? So this game is actually brutal, but the game system is much more easier to get into. So you need to be very careful in Dragonbane. I've seen a session where the first session in the first session itself, one of the heroes started to roll death saving throws, right? So this game can be really brutal. So you need to be smart when you play Dragonbane. But the system is very easy to get into and start playing. I spoke about waiting. I spoke about action and reaction, melee combats. Okay, so now I would when you do roll a d20 and you get a critical roll, there are three things that you can do. So the first thing is you double your damage, so you can roll damage twice. The second thing is you can attack, so you can hit and then attack another person. Right? You can hit the person you were rolling to hit, and then you can attack a person who's nearby if you're in melee range. And the third thing, so this is melee advantages. The third option, not advantage. So you need to select either of these three options to when you get a critical roll. The third one is you do the damage roll, but all the damage will be added to the enemy's hit point. So one thing that I missed to mention is here in Dragonbane, your armor is actually something that absorbs damage. So each player who's equipped with armor will have an armor rating. So in Wolf Shadow, our character Wolf Shadow Moonstar, if I go to equipment, and he's wearing a studded leather and he's wearing an open helmet. So as you can see, it has AR2 and AR plus 1. So what this means is it's 2 plus 1, that is 3. So his armor rating is 3. So if I take damage, right, let's say I'm supposed to take a damage of 5. So what will happen here is 3 will be minus from that 5 and my HP will reduce by 2. So let's say I get the 5 damage, 3 is reduced by 3 is reduced absorbed by the armor, and 2 is the health the damage that I take on my HP. So now this should reduce to 15. Yeah, it's reduced to 15. Right? So that's how the armor thing works. So that's why the third point that I mentioned, you roll once and the entire attack, the damage is subtracted, is affecting the HP. But I think there's a caveat here. Yes, so this option can only be taken if you're doing piercing damage. So in this case, my character Wolf Shadow is attacking with his spear, right? So spear does piercing damage. So the idea behind this is, because he's got a critical roll, he identifies the weak spot or gaps between the armor and pierces and uses his piercing attack between those gaps and directly pierces or stabs the body. So that's the idea behind it. So the third point, so the first thing is double roll, double damage. Second thing is perform 2 actions. Sorry. So you attack the guy, the person the enemy you intended to attack first, and then you can attack any nearby other enemies. The third is all the damage that you apply will be ignoring armor, basically, right? So that's melee critical roll. Now if you're asking about critical failures, so there is a d6 table that the game master has in the core book, where the game master can roll a d6 and decide uh, what happens, or what failure that you that the player faces, right? So they can either decide by a roll, or if he's a much more uh, lenient dungeon master, he would make it a little less um, embarrassing to you. So that's regarding critical failures. I have actually a cheat list next in my other monitor. I'm just looking into it so that I don't miss anything in this guide. Okay, so the next thing, I've spoken about parry, I've spoken about dodging. Ranged weapon, yes. So about ranged weapon, it's pretty much similar. If your weapon is within the range, um, you can attack, do the roll. I'm not sure. I don't think my character has a ranged weapon. No, he doesn't have a ranged weapon. Yeah, he just has a long spear. So if he's within the range, they can attack and then apply damage. The only difference between melee combat and ranged combat is, I think, yes, it's in the critical hit. So one thing is double damage. That is one. The second thing is armor has no effect, right? It directly attacks the. I mean, sorry. The damage is directly inflicted to the HP of the enemy and ignores the armor. Okay, so there is durability, weapon durability in Dragonbane. So what that means is the armor, the weapons will have a durability value. So let's say I parry. Let me see if it is. Wait, let me just check this out. I believe yeah, correct. So let's see, spear. Come on, my friend, spear. Okay, long spear. Right. So this is the durability section, right? Yes, durability. So this mechanic is, I believe it's an optional mechanic, but I kind of feel this gives a little more, like kind of intensifies the gameplay experience to in the game. And so I'm actually going to have most of the optional mechanics here. So again, regarding the durability, so if I parry with my spear, and let's say the damage is what do you say, 9 or greater in this long spear, 9 or greater. So what happens is, I did block the attack with my spear, but the spear shatters, right? The blade of the spear shatters. So then what happens is, I cannot use the spear anymore, right? So if so what that means is, I cannot use the spear anymore until I get it fixed, go to a blacksmith and fix it or something like that. Or if I'm already if I know how to fix a weapon, and if I have the right materials, right, then I can fix my own spear. But this is something that it's an optional mechanic. It depends on your game master if they are actually going to use this. I believe this is an optional mechanic, but yeah, this is durability. So it also So durability is there for a lot of things, even shields, I believe. Yes. So in this case, if I block with my shield and the damage is 15 or above, the shield will shatter, but that attack it will block. Attack it will block, but then after that I cannot use my shield anymore until I fix the shield. Right. So this is the durability mechanic, the damage mechanic. Death. Now, when it comes to death, there's something really interesting in Dragonbane. So when your health reaches 0, there is something called so first thing is obviously there is death saving throws. So when I'm in death state, right? So I need to roll a d20. So each round you roll against your constitution, right? So when I do a roll, when I'm in my death state, I actually do a constitution roll. So let's say I'm in death state now, and I rolled, I failed. So now my death failure increments, right? Now on the next turn, I roll again. Oops, sorry. I roll again. For some reason, Alchemy VTT is kind of slow today, but yeah, it's okay. At least I can show you the what exactly the mechanic is. Doesn't matter which VTT you use for this video, at least. So yeah, now I actually cleared this. So this was a successful death saving throw, right? So if I get all three right, all three success, then I get stable, and I roll for a d6 that to get the value, how much basically the value. So the d6 roll will let me know how much HP do I regain, right? If I fail, I die, right? So when in this state, if I get attacked, then it affects my death roll. There is also instant death in this game. So what that means is, if my health is 17, and if let's say that the final attack, the fatal attack reduces my health to -17, right? So immediately, even like from 1, I reach -17, I instantly die. There's no death saving throws or anything of that sort. You're instantly dead, right? Now these are the main death roll mechanic. Yes. So if it's a successful, if I get a crit roll while doing the death saving roll, I get two successes. So let's say I was at 1 and I now achieved a critical roll, that is the dragon. So I immediately get two successes and I get revived, and I have to roll a d6, right? And it same goes to when you get critical failures. So if I'm at 1 and I get a critical failure, I get 2 failures and I die, right? Now the cool mechanic that I was talking about. So there's a mechanic called rally. Okay, so there are 2 ways to do that. So another player can actually persuade my character. So maybe my teammate is persuading my character to get up, right? To get up and fight until death and defeat this big bad evil guy, right? So that player needs to roll to a successful persuasion roll. So let's say I am trying to persuade a player to actually rally up and fight with us. So this, if the roll is successful, then it works. If it doesn't, yeah, I'm not able to persuade that guy. But I can also self do it. Okay, I can also do it to myself. I can rally myself up and try to fight along with my players. But if I do rally, I am still going to do death saving rolls on my turn. So when I roll, when my turn comes, I'm going to do my death saving throw, and then I'm going to do an action, right? I'm going to attack a character or use my spell or whatnot, right? I still will have to save myself. And if I take damage and the damage reaches is the negative of my total health, that is -17 in this example, I will die, right? So that's there. So you when you rally yourself or someone rallies you, you're still uh, in the death state. But only thing you're still going to continue fighting, right? You're going to be able to do everything else other than stay alive. So that's the death mechanic. Now, when it comes to healing and resting, okay, healing and resting. So round rest that I mentioned is like you take a breather in between uh, the battle sequence. So instead of doing an action, you decide to do a round rest, and you do roll a d6 to gain certain amount of willpower, just willpower. So then there is stretch. So stretch is basically 15 minutes in the game time, 15 minutes. So when you do a stretch, you recover d6 HP, or 2d6 HP if someone is assisting on healing you, right? And you also recover d6 willpower, okay, and heal one condition. So in this example, let's say it's me, right? It's I I've taken 15. I had taken 2 damage, so now my health is 15, and my condition is angry, right? So if I take a stretch rest, I can. So I need to roll a d6, right? So let me do a d6. I'm going to do 2 d6s. Yeah. So 2 d6s, one for willpower and one for health. I believe I'm going to do that. So the first one is willpower, the second one is HP. Okay, so I increment. Oh, nice. So I got 6. So yeah, I regained all my health. Now it's going to be 17. So it's going to be 17. Yeah. So it's going to be 17. Yeah. So you see it's full now, and my willpower would be incremented by 1, but I'm full. So yeah, and I also heal one condition. So there are chances that I could have multiple conditions, right? I could have all of the conditions, and if I get all of the conditions and I still have to, a new condition needs to be added. So let's say I'm in a situation where I'm disheartened, I'm scared, I'm angry, I'm dazed, I'm sickly, I'm exhausted, right? And there's another condition that needs to be added because of some scenario in the game. Maybe the big baddie casts a spell on me, and I have to take another condition. If I take an additional condition, I'm done. I have no I have lost all my confidence, and I cannot move on forward. I either stay dazed and do not do any action, or I could maybe roleplay and say I run off from the battlefield and I leave my party members. I cannot do anything, basically. So that's what condition is. So when you rest, so the final thing is shift rest. So shift rest is 6 hours of rest. So you recover all lost HP, you recover all lost willpower, and also remove all conditions. So this is a proper rest. So all my health is regained, my willpower is regained, and all my conditions are cleared out. There's no more conditions. I'm well rested. Yes. So yeah, I think this should be more than enough for any new player to know when the mechanics that needs to be known by any player that gets into the wants to play a session of Dragonbane. I hope this was a good video and didn't stretch a lot. Regarding the encounter, I think I'm going to make a smaller video just showing how the encounters can be set up. I think the video is a little too big now. I don't want to make it a very large video where it gets a little stretched for you viewers to watch. So for as per all the mechanics that is required to be known, it's all there in this video. I'm going to make another small video of how like an example of an encounter where I use actions and moves and maybe push dice or or what I say, rally a player and try to just show how an encounter should be, right? But I hope this video has been really helpful, and if you did like the video, please like and please do subscribe, because I have a lot of videos coming in. I try to learn new TTRPG systems and try to make videos on kind of introducing those TTRPG systems, and also showcase my sessions. My next session will be Dragonbane session 1. I hope you guys are eager to watch that video, because I'm so eager to host it and share it with you guys. Thank you so much. Take care. Peace.